Hey guys, good afternoon. At least that's where it is where I'm in the country. How you guys doing? Did you have a good weekend? I had an incredibly relaxing weekend. If you're watching the replay, thanks for joining us. I'm Michael Hyatt. I'm the Virtual Mentor, and this is the Virtual Mentor Show. My goal is to help give you the clarity, the confidence, and the tools you need to both win at work and to succeed at life. And today we're going to be talking about the two most powerful words for reaching your goals. And I'm going to be sharing some thoughts on a blog post that I did today. So somebody says, hello from Newfoundland. Awesome. Oregon. Where are you guys from? Moses from Ohio. Hello from North Carolina. Laura in Pennsylvania. Dana Point, California. Hello from Arkansas. Pittsburgh, Dallas, Santa Barbara. I love Santa Barbara. Awesome. Say hi to Oprah for me. Alaska, Miami, New Jersey. Whew, going by quickly. Guys, welcome. I am so excited to be back in this seat and just talk with you today. And so I do have a little bit of a plan today. I want us to talk about the blog post, which you can find at thementor.tv/goals, where I had some thoughts in this morning's blog post about why people don't achieve their goals and two words that can make all the difference for you in accomplishing what matters most. In case you don't know me, my name is Michael Hyatt. I'm the author of the New York Times bestseller platform, Get Noticed in a Noisy World. I blog at michaelhyatt.com, where I get about 1 million page views a month. I also have an iTunes top 10 podcast called This Is Your Life. And if you want to find it, just go to iTunes and search for my name, Michael Hyatt, Hyatt. Thanks, guys, for giving me all those hearts. That is absolutely awesome. Again, we're going to be talking about the two most important words for achieving your goals. And I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes. And then I'm going to take questions on that topic and whatever else you want to talk about for about 15 minutes. Then we'll be done. So about a 30-minute scope. Is that okay with you guys? Great. How many of you, as we're just about to enter, I think we've got a month left in this quarter, and we're going to enter into the final quarter of the calendar year, how many of you are struggling to achieve maybe one or two of your goals that just haven't materialized yet, and you might even be in doubt about whether you're going to accomplish them? It could be a work-related goal. It could be a personal goal. By the way, somebody said, thanks for coming to Tribe Conference yesterday. That was a blast. I had so much fun going to Jeff Goins' Tribe Writers Conference yesterday and doing a Q&A with him. He's a terrific interviewer, and I loved sharing with you guys if you were there. So yeah, somebody says, yes, struggling. That's, who's that? Susie? Who else is struggling? Maybe a goal that is really important, or it was important when you said it, but now you're just thinking, man, I don't know if I've really got a chance. Okay, Marissa says me. Tony says me. Hey, Marissa. Launching my business tomorrow. Thanks, Mr. Michael. Marissa says, so happy you're following your dad. That makes me happy too. Thanks, Marissa. Gail says, I know what I want to accomplish, but having trouble getting there. Finishing a book, Sierra says. Somebody else says, my goal date was too soft. Oh, I love this. I'm starting to doubt myself. Do you guys ever feel that way? Man, I feel that way pretty frequently. You know, and part of it is when you set a big goal that's outside of your comfort zone, one of the three feelings that you'll often experience when you're in the discomfort zone is uncertainty. So, or doubt, or fear. And if you feel those emotions, congratulations, you're normal. High five. If you feel that way, give me some hearts. Yeah, it's not certain, right? I mean, you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I'm not sure I'm going to accomplish what I set out to do, right? Or you think, I don't know if I have what it takes. Or you just feel a little afraid, like, man, what if I fall on my face? What if I embarrass myself by achieving too much and I don't accomplish it, and then I'll be the laughingstock of my company or the laughingstock of my neighborhood, or at least I'll just know, and it'll be one more time when I don't achieve what I set out to do, and I don't like what that does for my self-esteem. So maybe you're feeling that way, and a lot of people feel that way. Okay, so let me get straight to the content. Again, you can find this blog post today over on my blog at thementor. This is kind of a short code to get you there quickly. thementor.tv untitled.tv/goals. And the blog post is called The 2 Most Powerful Words for Reaching Your Goals. So here's how I set it up. And I'm going to take your questions here in just a minute. So don't worry, I'm going to get to those. But, as it turns out, all the research that I've read on goal setting, and I've studied this a lot because I've got a course called 5 Days to Your Best Year Ever. How many of you have taken that? Give me some hearts if you've taken that course. But it's all about goal setting. And so each year we study a little bit more. We have more and more people in the course. We've got a lot of feedback that we're getting from our members. But as it turns out, based on the research, you and I only have a certain amount of willpower. Think of it like a reservoir. Whenever you begin the day, you have a certain amount of willpower, and when it's gone, it's gone. It's a little bit like today I was at the gym, and today I was working with my personal trainer, and today was my day for chest and arms, okay? So I was working those 2 muscle groups primarily. Well, we went through about 4 exercises for my chest, and I was just done. And my trainer said to me, do some push-ups. You know how many push-ups I did after going through that routine? I'm going to tell you. I couldn't do 1. Not 1. And I'm in pretty good shape. And I pushed around a lot of weight this morning. But I couldn't do 1 push-up. You know why? Because my strength capacity was exhausted. My muscles had been maxed out. I couldn't even do 1 push-up. And this is the problem that a lot of us have. We're trying to exercise our willpower too much on too many different things, and we exhaust it rather than focusing it and concentrating it on a few things. This is why I advise people, don't take on too many goals at one time. 7 to 10 max. If you try to take on too many, it's a recipe for failure. But let's say that you're taking on a few goals. One of the things that hurts us is because we keep making the same decision over and over again. Like, if I make the decision when I get up this morning, I think, am I going to work out today or am I not going to work out today? How do I feel about working out today? Well, I'm not sure I've gotten enough sleep. Maybe I should sleep a little bit more. Do you see how that's exhausting my willpower? Instead, what I decide, I laid out my workout clothes last night so that the decision was already made. I did that last night. So I got up this morning. It took 0 willpower to get to the gym because I didn't have to make that decision. Or it's like the person that wants to lose weight and they decide, carbs are not my friend, sugar's not my friend, white processed food is not my friend, so I'm going to just get that out of my kitchen so that I never have to make the decision again, or at least during this period where I'm trying to lose some weight. So you don't exhaust your willpower by opening the fridge, seeing something that you shouldn't eat, going ahead and eating that, and then wondering why you're not achieving your goal of losing weight. So you've got to consolidate, and you've got to be careful about your planning and your implementation. In fact, what I talked about this morning was a concept called an implementation intention, okay? So I gave the example of laying out your workout clothes, but here's another example. Let's say that you have, and this is the one I give in the blog today, again at vmentor.tv/goals. Go read that. You don't have to read it right now, but read that after we get done with this scope. I think you'll be really encouraged and blessed by it. But let's take, for example, that you have the intention to leave the office by 5 o'clock. Maybe it's 6 o'clock. I don't care what it is. But one of the secrets to getting more margin with your family and getting more time for yourself is setting a hard date by which you're going to cut off your work. Because work expands to the time allotted for it, right? So if you can work into the evening, you probably will. You'll waste time. You'll be on Facebook. You'll be doing all these things instead of getting your work done so that you can leave on time. But let's say you set the intention that you're going to leave by 5 o'clock every day. If that sounds good to you, tell me yes. A hard stop at the end of the date so you've got margin to do the things you really want. If that sounds good, say yes. Anybody? Everybody. Yes. Ron, yes. Tony, yes. Edward, yes. Chuck, yes. Chris, yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, great. Okay. So the problem is that you set an intention like that, and what happens? Almost automatically, the resistance shows up. That's what Stephen Pressfield calls it in his book, The War of Art, which is absolutely must reading if you're trying to get an improvement in any area of your life, The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. But he says, whenever we determine that we're going to improve our life in some way, the resistance shows up and opposes us. And that's definitely been my experience. So you set the intention, I'm going to leave the office at 5 o'clock today. What happens? Charlie from down the hall shows up at 4:45 and he wants to talk to you about a project, right? Or the phone rings 5 minutes before you're going to leave. And now you got to decide, am I going to take the call and not leave at 5? Or am I going to walk off and feel guilty about it? So what an implementation intention does is it uses two words. And these are the two words that can change everything for you. If, then. You pre-decide so that in the moment you don't have to exercise your willpower and possibly blow it. Okay? So let me give you some examples. You say to yourself, and these are my if-then implementation intentions for wanting to leave the office at 5 o'clock every day. So here would be one. If I get a phone call after 4:45, I'm going to let it go to voicemail. So you create this kind of rule for yourself. And again, I'm calling it an implementation intention, an if-then rule. If I get a phone call after 4:45, I'm going to let it go to voicemail. Okay, it's just a rule that I built in because I'm trying to say yes to something more important, which is the margin I'm trying to create in my life so that I can not only win at work, but succeed at life. Here's another implementation intention. I'm going to give you 4 examples. If a colleague, and I'm just reading here, sees me getting ready to leave and wants to talk, I'll let him know that I'm happy to do so tomorrow, but not today. Okay? Because, when somebody says to you, hey, you got 2 minutes, I got something to run by you. How often, let's be honest, how often is that 2 minutes? Not very often. That 2 minutes becomes 20 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour. And pretty soon you've made the people that are really important to you, your family, wait for something that's probably less important to you if you were to prioritize it. Here's a third one. If I get a meeting request for 4 p.m., I'll let the organizer know that I need to exit 5 minutes before the top of the hour and prepare what I need to leave the office before I ever go into that meeting so I can leave at 4:55, grab my stuff, and go. Okay? Because your intention is to leave at 5 o'clock, and you've got to have an implementation intention, an if-then statement, so that if you get caught, you've already made the decision and you're not going to exhaust your willpower. Okay? Fourth one. If I have email to answer before the end of the day, I will do so by 4:30 p.m., and I won't check email again after 4:45 because it's a trap. That email pops up and you think I can just solve this in a few minutes, and that leads to one of the things, and pretty soon you've fallen down the rabbit hole and you're lost and you've missed your intention. So what I want to say to you is take the willpower part of this out of it so that you can make the decision and then not have to worry about it in the moment so you can preserve your willpower and use it when you really need it. Okay? So that's it. So let's just take questions. What questions do you have? Yeah, Sarah says stay out of the trap. Absolutely, stay out of the trap. And I can't read the name of this person, but somebody said boundaries. Yes, that's the thing about a hard stop at 5. It's a boundary. How if my decision for my goal is affected by my husband? This is where sometimes I think we're afraid, and I've been there too myself, afraid to have kind of that difficult conversation with the people that love us, the people that are around us, but the people that often unwittingly keep us stuck because they like what is familiar. This is why sometimes when somebody is an alcoholic and they decide to get sober, it's really difficult for their family because they had the certainty of him being drunk or abusing alcohol or whatever. And all of a sudden, when that person starts to get well, it changes the family dynamics. And so sometimes we have to have this discussion with our family members. And I've found that generally, if I explain what it is I'm after, and if I share with them the why it's really important to me to accomplish this, and then to humbly ask, would you help me with this? I really need your support. I need your help. I'm trying to lose a few pounds here. And when you buy sugary things, when you bring home those homemade donuts, it doesn't help me. And if you wouldn't mind, for the next several weeks, just not doing that, that would be a huge help. So have that conversation. By the way, if you have a question, 2 question marks, your name in all caps, and then the question mark. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe to this Periscope. Tony, how can you say no or I don't have time in a nice way? Tony, that is a brilliant question. It's a really important question. And let me share with you how I do it. I use, by the way, email templates where when people ask me for certain requests that I get over and over again, and there's a finite number of them. But when I get these requests over and over, I've written out an answer that's gracious, but also reinforces my boundaries. So here's what I typically say. So somebody says, hey, and I get this kind of request all the time. Hey, I wonder if we could have coffee so I could pick your brain. Does that ever happen to you? If it does, give me some hearts. But you're thinking to yourself, I really don't have time for that. Number one. Number two, I'm probably never going to see this person again. Number three, I'd love to help them, but I can't do everything. And my family is important. My health is important. My marriage is important. So here's what I say. First of all, I create empathy. So I say to that person, I say, man, I so wished I could do that because I love nothing better than sitting down and helping people like you. But the truth is, and here's the kind of the killer phrase, in order to be faithful to my current commitments, I have to decline requests like this. It's that simple. I don't go into a lot of detail, but I make it clear that I'm a man of my word, that I want to keep my current commitments, and to say yes to that person's request would be for me to break a commitment. Scott says, what time do you start your day? My day starts at 5 a.m. Every single day. I almost always get to bed at 9:30, but it starts at 5 a.m. Empathy, then boundary. Thanks. Yes. Lisa says, could you cover relationships? What's familiar, changing habits? Sorry, I lost that. Will, do others usually respect your boundaries? If not, how do you handle? Yes. If, this is the big if you respect your boundaries. The way we interact with people, we're teaching them or we're training them how to treat us. And if you're always the person who doesn't respect your own boundaries, and I'm not talking about being legalistic, there's times when you can be a little flexible, but if you don't respect your own boundaries, nobody else is going to do it either. If every time your boss asks you if you can work on Saturday morning and you just say, yeah, I can, then what are you teaching him? You're teaching him or you're teaching her to not respect your boundaries. But if you say to your boss, you know what, I really wish I could, but the truth is I've got a family commitment for that time, and I wouldn't go into a lot of detail. I usually just say this, I've got another commitment. And then I offer an alternative. What if we did this on Monday afternoon? Or what if we did this on Monday morning? But you got to respect your boundaries first. Marissa says, what if we get texts from team members over the weekend? Okay, this has been really hard for my team to learn. But we are committed to continuing to grow our company like crazy. For the last 4 years, we've averaged 100% growth a year. That is fast growth. But our commitment, because we want to 10x the company over the next 5 years, our commitment is we want to do it, but only if everyone on our team doesn't have to work on the weekends. That's kind of our barometer. In other words, we want that margin and we want it protected, not just for ourselves, but for our team members. I don't want to create a company where I'm the boss and, I get to have margin, but nobody else gets margin. That's crazy. It's not fair. It's not right. So I don't want to ask my team members to have to work on the weekend. So if I got a text message from somebody, and I've instructed my team, if you get a text message from me on the weekend, ignore it. I mean, we're not generally saving lives here. We're just doing whatever we're doing. We're not, probably, some of you may be, but we're not working in an ER or where we're on call and where it's life and death. But whatever margin you've carved out, whether it's a vacation or whatever, you've got to respect it, okay? And you've got to do, and Marissa, the reason that's a good question is it's the then, implementation, intention, right? If I get text, how am I going to respond? Okay, Viviana says, how do you find time for job and your biz and your family and personal development? I see it like this. You could either drift and kind of hope that things improve in the future, or you can design. You can drift or you can design. And I think it begins with stating an intention, and it's as simple as this. I want to have time for work. I want to kill it at work. I mean, my work is not suffering. My business is not suffering. But I don't want to do it at the expense of my health or my family, okay? And for me, my relationship with God. I want all of that in balance. So it starts with the intention. And once you start with the intention and say, I'm going to figure this out, you'll find a way, I promise. Drift or design. Yeah, somebody put the hashtag. Eastward Moses, hashtag drift or design. I love that. Okay, so Kristen says, be intentional and design your life, not just your business. Absolutely. You know, most people put more planning into a 2-week vacation than they put into their life. Gail, I think you had a question too, so if you're listening to this still, give it to me. Amy says, how would you incorporate accountability? I'm not sure what you mean. Maybe accountability for team members that are kind of violating what we've said? Well, one of the things we did for this next year is we said we're going to give ourselves 4 weekends where we can slip up or mess up, you know, like maybe during the launch or something. But we're counting those off. And I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe I need to put a reward on it so that if we win something, if we do that. So Puzzled to Purpose says, I'm not alone. Yay, LOL. You're definitely not alone. I don't care what you're feeling. You're not alone. Mark says, how do you uncover God's faith plan for your business? You know, I think a lot of times people think if I want something, then God must not want me to have it. And I think to myself, what kind of God would that be? I think God works through our desires. I think God often implants in our hearts the desire for the very thing that he's designed us to achieve. And so I see that as an alignment. If I want something, I think to myself, somebody put it there. Sarah says, when we take time... Oh, Sarah, it disappeared. Sorry. If you want to ask it again, I'll try to answer. Any other questions? Mr. Michael and Miss Gail, what a blessing you are. Thank you. Lino says, how would you deal with a bully or a childish person? Here's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't energize them. It's kind of like when I'm dealing with critics, I pretty much ignore them. You know why? Because when I focus on them, when I try to address them, they draw strength from that. It reinforces the bad behavior because they're getting the reward they're after. So same thing with the bully. Just ignore them, you know. Walk away from them if you have to. If that won't work, you may have to confront them. If you're in a business situation, you may have to report them to HR. But be courageous because you're rarely acting on your own behalf. You're usually acting for all the people that won't speak up as well. Okay, so how do you balance business and church? Well, I have a pretty clear list of priorities. You know, and I think I shared this with you guys last week, but let me give them to you again. God first, me second, self-care, an appropriate level of self-care, not narcissism. But if I don't maintain my health, if I don't maintain my marriage, it's going to affect everything else in my life. I'm not going to be able to work like I want to work. I'm not going to be able to provide for my family. I'm not going to have a contribution to make at church. So God, myself, my family, my work, and then my church. In other words, when I'm doing all those other things, then I've got something I can really contribute at church. So you may have different priorities. That's fine. Jen Hubbard says, true, I agree. It's a matter of fact, yet gentle. Gabby says, I lay out clothes for the gym. Ooh, that one scrolled by way too fast. Serenity, what's a good goal to set for my social marketing? Well, I think you got to set goals over stuff that you can control. You know, I tend to set number goals as well, but one goal would be how many times you're going to post a day. You know, on Facebook, you could probably get away with posting twice a day. Some people may think that's even too much. Some people may see it's too little. On Twitter, I typically post 8 to 12 times a day. So it just depends on the medium. Carol says, yes, appropriate level of self-care after God, then everyone else. Judah says, Denmark is here. Great. Tommy, are you continuing the daily scope after the 30 days? We'll see. I don't know, Tommy. I am really enjoying this, maybe for reasons that will surprise you when I share them, but I'm really enjoying this. And so right now I'm leaning in that direction, but I'm not going to announce it till I've had my team, an opportunity for my team to weigh in on this, because I just don't want to make a decision in a vacuum because it affects them too. Why 2 for Facebook and 12 for Twitter? And that's asked by Mir Faye. Well, because that's just kind of the vernacular of that medium. You know, people tend to see it, and again, it's just in general, as more disruptive when you post more often than that on Facebook. But with Twitter, the audience is in and out. So it's like a different audience every, 10 minutes. So I don't think it's too much there. The phrase saves me. Thank you for thinking of me. Let me check my schedule and I'll get back to you. Yes, I'll tell you why that works is because you're putting a pause between the stimulus, somebody asking you, and the response, you giving them a response. So anytime you can put a pause there, that's great. Danielle says it depends. Build your email list. Give away free content for email addresses. Yes, absolutely believe in that. Tiffany, having a hard time connecting if then to reaching my goals. Can you clarify? Well, let's take a goal. Let's just say, just to make it easy, that it's a weight loss goal. So what you have to do is come up with some if-then statements that deal with the obstacles. If, for example, you're expending a lot of willpower on deciding what to eat and you're tempted to eat stuff that you know are not on your meal plan, then you've got to create an if-then statement. If I'm in a restaurant, I'll order, the veggies and the meat, but I'm not going to, it just happened to me just today. I was out eating with Megan and I said, look, I'm totally swearing off carbohydrates for right now. It's not that this is going to be forever, but for right now. So I ordered, at this Greek restaurant, I ordered the Greek feast, which happened to be some beef tenderloin and basically a salad. Yeah, Sharon says, tough to make margin when business is under stress. It's true. And there are going to be seasons in your life when it's all hands on deck. But here's the deal. That cannot become your new normal. And too often the things that we think are just temporary will fool ourselves, delude ourselves into thinking they're temporary and they have a way of becoming permanent. How many times have you said this to your spouse? If I could just get through this season, everything's going to be okay. If I can just get through, learning this new job or this acquisition or this transfer, if we can just get through moving into this new house, whatever it is, then everything will be back to normal. But too often those temporary situations become permanent, and that's not healthy. Somebody says, loving this Periscope, thanks. Theory of constraint helps. Yeah, so Sarah says, I'm sensing that eating well is a big life goal currently. You can do it. Thanks, Sarah. Well, here's the truth. It's just a few hundred of us. So let me just share with you. I've had this goal this year of getting down to a certain percentage of body fat. I've tried about 3 different strategies, and it hasn't moved the needle. Okay? You know what I'm talking about? Now, I would say that it'd be easy to get discouraged and just say I'm going to give up on that. But this is a really important goal to me. Part of it is just I'm an achiever, and I just am frustrated that I can't figure this out. So I'm trying yet another strategy. And that's kind of my philosophy of life. If I have a goal and it's really important to me and I'm connected with my why and I'm not achieving it, then I need a different strategy. Because sticking with the same strategy, hoping for a different result, is a definition of what? That's right, insanity. So I'm changing strategies. And so this is one that with renewed focus this week, I'm committed to making it happen. Sarah says, you will find what works and you're determined. Hashtag you've got this. Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate that. Sarah Brown, by the way, you should follow her. I went to her webpage last week, read her story. Amazing. So inspiring. Sarah, put the link up here so everybody can get to it, would you? Lino says, is it not good to have money as a goal? Why would that not be good? This is the weirdest thing. People have the most weird relationship with money. Now, look, I know money's not everything, but it's something. And, money makes a lot of other problems go away, okay? So, again, I'm not saying it's everything. I don't think you should seek money. I try to seek influence and impact, but I'm happy when the money follows because I've been rich and I've been poor, and I like having money better than not having money. In fact, I would say the people that think about money the most are people that are broke, right? Your whole life revolves around money. So I like having some margin there just like I like any place else. Yeah, sarahbrown.com. Well, that's simple. Do you think maybe that sometimes we are where we are because we want to be? Absolutely. I think that's the case. In fact, I would suggest this. Where you are today, and this would be a good point to finish on, where you are today in any area of your life, and some of you are not going to like this, okay? I'm just going to warn you. Some of you are not going to like this, but I want you to think about it before you react. Where you are today in any area of your life is a result of the decisions you've made up until now. Okay? If you're not happy with your health, there's a reason. And my guess is that a lot of it has to do with the decisions you've made. Maybe not everything, or maybe some things outside of your control, but a lot of it has to do with the decisions you've made. If you're not happy in your marriage, a lot of that has to do with the decisions you've made up until this point. If you agree with me, give me some hearts. Here's the good news, is that that can all change beginning today. You know why? Because you have agency. You have power. You can make different decisions. You can go home tonight or at lunch or whatever time zone you're in, and you can treat your spouse in a different way than you've ever done before. You can make different decisions. You can make different decisions about what you eat at your next meal, or whether or not you move and get exercise, or whether you really give yourself to your work. Whatever it is, you have power, you have ability, you have agency. And I want you to think about this. I always finish with this. But today, whatever of it is left is a blank canvas. You're holding in your hands with all your talents and your abilities. It's like a bunch of paint. And you can paint on that blank canvas whatever you want. You can make the rest of this day awesome. You know, it's one thing when they said to me today, as I left the gym today, they said, "Hey, have a great day." And I said to Gail as we left, I said, "No, I'm going to make it a great day. It's not going to happen by accident, and it won't for you either. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow." And by the way, tomorrow's scope is going to be at 7 p.m. That's because I have an all-day meeting. So 7 p.m., tell your friends. Maybe some of them can join us that haven't been able to join at this time. Look forward to seeing you guys. Thanks.